If marketing your business effectively on social media remains an absolute mystery, then tune in. The fog is about to be well and truly lifted.
Welcome to the Small Business Big Marketing Show, where successful small business owners share their secrets to take your marketing to the next level. Now here's your host, Tim Reid.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I'm your host, Timbo Reid, but you, so much more importantly, are a motivated small business owner ready to crank out some great marketing. And that is exactly what we do around here. That is exactly why this show exists. Big show today, so well done to you for choosing to be a part of it and taking some time out of what I'm sure is a very busy schedule. I'm going to share an idea from a forum member aimed at helping you grow your business. I have a motivational marketing quote that will energize you to even aim higher. Fantastic quote, one of my faves. I've got a fireside chat with social media expert Jeff Bullas that will demystify, I promise it is going to demystify that dark art of social media marketing. And of course, there's always time for our weekly check-in. So, I would say there is a fair amount of marketing GOLD dripping, absolutely dripping from the ceiling of the Small Business Big Marketing HQ. So let's get stuck right in.
Small Business Big Marketing with Tim Reid. smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.
So, how's your week been? Hopefully it has been a ripper, full of positivity, the odd laugh. I was going to say a little laugh, but I'd like to see a lot of laughing. Business is serious. We've got to have some fun. I've had a ripper. Just got back from Vietnam, Singapore, Brisbane. Busy week. Spoke at a conference in Vietnam. Went really well. Lesson, always like to bring a lesson home. At the conference next door to where I was speaking in the same hotel, we were at the Sheraton, there was a Microsoft Platinum Partners Conference, which I wasn't a part of, but it was happening alongside. So being the opportunist that I can be, I went and hunted down the organiser of that conference, who ended up being the owner of a conference and event business in Singapore, and got to know her and suggested that maybe I could speak at conferences she organises. So it was just a nice way. I would never have met that person otherwise. Saw the opportunity and made the most of it. She was actually really appreciative. So I think sometimes we can go, oh, they're not going to be interested, or that'd be embarrassing, or what if they say no, not interested. But you know what? It's not going to happen, because most times people are interested. You just got to give them good reason to be. So, that was a good thing. I also spoke at this showcase. I mentioned it last week, where I spoke at a showcase in Brisbane put on by an events company for conference organisers. So I wasn't necessarily speaking to people who were intentionally interested about the marketing ideas that I share, because they organise conferences on behalf of others. But it went really well. And the lesson there was like, get really clear on who your audience is and manage your message accordingly. So I had to kind of change my keynote. I couldn't just give my standard keynote. I had to pivot a little bit and remind myself, what is the major problem these people have? And the major problem they have is finding good speakers that they can trust and be confident in. So once I did that, it allowed me to craft my message in a whole lot more compelling way. A whole lot more compellingly. Goodness me, I am tripping up on my words. Hey, I am, and this is not the last week just gone, but in the coming week, I'm speaking at the Content Marketing Institute's event in Sydney, March 16 to 18. So it's about a week away, so not much time to get along, but Google Content Marketing Institute Sydney, and you can still get tickets. And I'm just talking specifically about podcasting, so that should be a bit of fun. Hopefully we can record it, and if we can, I will post it inside the Small Business Big Marketing Forum, maybe put a snippet of it on an upcoming episode of the show. Hope you have had a fantastic week. I'd love to hear about your week. I'm interested in how business is going for you, so feel free to leave a comment in the show notes. This is episode 229. over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com or join the forum over at crankmymarketing.com because we care and we talk about each other's businesses all the time, support each other, hold each other accountable, share marketing ideas. That's what we do. I hope you've had a ripper week. Hey, as you know, this show is made possible by 99 Designs and Net Registry. Now, here's the thing. I read a comment in iTunes, one of the reviews, saying, Timbo rattles on about his sponsors too much at the start of the show. Well, I know I shouldn't respond to the minority, but every now and then I can't help myself. This show is made possible by two very, very kind sponsors. And I chose them and they chose me specifically because we love helping small businesses with their marketing. So if you do need help with your online marketing, head over to netregistry.com.au because they will get your online marketing sorted, from domain names and website hosting to website design and Facebook advertising, Google Ads, everything. Everything about improving your online digital footprint. So, I chose Net Registry because they just work for you, the small business owner. Head over to netregistry.com.au and tell them Timbo sent ya. And 99 Designs. Guys, if you need anything designed, like, this is really simple. I want to make marketing simple for you so you can get on with growing a great business. 99 Designs, you can go there and get logos designed, brochures, book covers, sidecar? What's that about? Car banners is what I was going to say. Everything, stickers, whatever you need designed for your business. Go to 99designs.com/SBBM. You can list your competition, nominate an amount of prize money, run it for 7 days, have designers from all around the world responding with finished designs, choose one, award the prize money, and get your designs. And guess what? 100% money back guarantee. I don't think there's a downside there, team, at all. So 99designs.com/SBBM will also get you a $99 free upgrade so that your brief, your listing, your contest gets seen and responded to by 185% on average more designers. So there you go, two wonderful sponsors that make this show possible. To that end, let's get back to the show. Righto, coming up, an interview with social media expert, almost guru. I'd say guru. I use that word very, very seldomly, but Jeff Bullas knows his social media stuff. That is coming up very shortly, but let me share an idea from me good old mate Ben at Geelong Cable Locations. Ben is a forum member and a long-time listener, and I love Ben's contributions inside the Small Business Big Marketing Forum. He's got an idea that I want to share with you that, if you like, I will bring to life. Ben says, I've been listening to a podcast from Chris Ducker and Pat Flynn lately. Oh, he's crossed the line. No, I know he's still listening to this show as well. And they have been mentioning this event they run where they get business owners in a room for a day and discuss each other's business. Loving it already, Ben. It sort of reminds me of what we do inside the Mind section of the Small Business Big Marketing Forum. That's where we discuss each other's businesses and provide ideas. And I was thinking you could probably run a similar type of event over here, meaning Australia. Get a group of, say, 10 business owners, charge them between $500 and $1,000 each, and then everyone gets 30 minutes where they just talk about their business, and everyone in the room fires off ideas that they think will work for them. I love it already, Ben. I love the idea of sharing your business blockages and wins amongst fellow business owners who may well have been there and have solutions for you. Ben goes on to say, it's just an idea for now, and of course will really depend on what your time is worth, as it will take a little bit of setup and it will be a full day there, and there is probably no major benefit to the Timbo brand. Well, that's not true. Massive benefit to my brand, but that's not the point. It's an opportunity. I love giving back to business, Ben. That's what I do. Like, my whole thing with Small Business Big Marketing is to find ways right now through my podcast, through my forum, and through my conference speaking, my keynote speaking. That's what I do. And the more I can bring business owners together to help break through marketing blockages, to just share our experiences, to tell our stories, mate, Yeah, it's not a waste of my time whatsoever. Thank you for putting the idea forward. Ben goes on to say, but it's just they are all talking about it and how much fun they had doing it. It reminded me of the forum, and I thought how cool it would be to have the forum, but in person, where we are all in the same room at once. Regards, Ben. Ben, you're a legend, mate. You know it. Be proud of it. Listeners, if you like Ben's idea and you would like to be a part of that, I would actually consider running one a month. Seriously, this idea resonates with me. So if you like the idea, maybe if you think it can be improved upon, or if you're interested in being a part of it, because I'm happy to take it interstate or overseas if we can get enough numbers, email me, tim@smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, and put your hand up, express some interest, and let's make this happen. Thanks, Ben. Righto, let's get stuck into today's guest. It is Jeff Bullas. He is a social media bloody living legend. That's what he is. I said guru earlier, but who am I kidding? This guy knows his stuff. First of all, hit him up on Twitter at Jeff, Jeff, Bullas, Bullas, and tell him you heard him on this show and what you loved about the interview that you're about to hear. I met Jeff over a beer recently in Sydney. Funnily enough, I was catching up with his partner, who is an event organiser, and I was, expressing how much I would love to do some work for her at some point in time. She mentioned that she lived with this Jeff Bullas guy, who, hey, I've heard of him before. He's a bit of a ledge. So I said I'd like to meet him. We went out for a beer in Sydney not long ago, had a good night, and he offered to appear on the show. So here he is. His mission, inspiring and educating people how to succeed in business and life in a digital world. How's this for some achievements? Number 7 in the top 100 social media influencers for 2015. Ranked number 8 on Forbes, the world's top 40 social media marketing talent last year. Published in the New York Times, Huffington Post. LinkedIn rank him as in their top 25 social media experts that you need to know. His blog gets over 4 million views a year over at jeffbullas.com, and his Twitter following is about to hit 300,000. He's an impressive guy. This is an impressive conversation, team. The curtain, the fog, the mist is about to be lifted on this whole social media marketing thing. I promise you'll walk away from this interview enlightened and inspired to give it another crack, or, in fact, to give it a crack. I started off by sharing my own personal frustration with social media. Now, Jeff, I have very much been looking forward to this chat because I've got this frustration around social media. Can I explain?
Go ahead.
My most popular post, and I'll talk about Facebook. We're going to talk bigger than that, but my most popular Facebook post was when I posted a photo of a sausage in some supermarket packaging that looked like a penis.
Right.
It got 102 likes, 46 comments, and 28 shares in about 12 hours. Versus when I post an episode of my very popular podcast, which you are now on, it might get 12 likes, it might get 5 comments, it might get a couple of shares, and it does my head in. And I think I share a similar frustration with small business owners everywhere around this social media thing.
Right.
What do you say to that?
Well, you've got two comparisons. Social media loves visual content. So you post something very visual versus something that is just a link and a headline. So the reality is that you need to create visual content that engages your audience. And that's what is more prone to go viral or more prone to actually get engagement. And you just got to work out a way of communicating in a much more visual way. That's your challenge.
So when I post an episode of the Small Business Big Marketing Show, it's accompanied by a picture of my guest.
Right.
So it wouldn't say overly compelling. It's just a mugshot. We need something more. Like I know that if I post a quote that I've had designed up, it gets more engagement.
That's right. So you might want to grab a quote from that person and turn it into actually a a visual image and then post it as part of that. So this is a quote from my speaker today.
Righto.
So turning text into images is actually a pretty cool way to go as a good starter. Mini infographics is another one that works quite well.
Infographics I love infographics. We were talking about this inside the forum this week, and they're great, but they require some work and they're not cheap to produce from what I can tell.
Yep. So what you can do is you actually can curate an infographic from someone else, attribute and use it.
Yeah, right, okay.
So you don't have to create all the content yourself, but you do need to attribute, of course, the source.
Yep.
So people don't mind their content being shared long as it's attributed. That's how the social web works. So it's generally you don't need to ask for permission, but you do need to attribute.
I get an email, I'd say two emails a day from someone somewhere in the world wanting to guest post on the Small Business Big Marketing blog. So this is obviously them understanding that idea of getting their work out beyond their own online footprint.
Absolutely. So it's basically people want to tap into influencers. And that's actually becoming a much bigger thing, especially in the last 12 months.
How many of those emails would you get a day?
Oh, quite a few. Yeah.
What do you? I mean, right now I'm just declining because I don't. My podcast is kind of what I'm doing weekly. My blog I do when I get around to it.
Yep.
What's your policy around accepting guest posts on jeffbullas.com?
They've got to be really good quality. They've got to meet the standard I want. They've got to have a very similar voice to how I want to be talking to my marketplace. Mm-hmm. They've got to add great value. They don't have to be just another ho-hum. It's just, you should be using social media because of, blah, blah. It's got to be, something's got a little bit of an X factor. So, and that's really important. In other words, if you want to create content for people, and contribute, you need to add as much value as possible. So, and the standard for content and guest blogging actually has gone up over the last 4 to 5 years.
Great. Just more pressure for us small business owners. But we're going to release that pressure. Jeff, this is not the usual conversation I have on the Small Business Big Marketing Show. Normally I explore someone's business idea and want to know, where they started out and all that. But I've gone out to my audience, I've gone out to forum members and just kind of got a sense of all the questions they have around social media. So we're going to go here, there and everywhere for the next half an hour. You fine with that?
That's absolutely fine.
And to me, it's a reflection of where we're all at with social media in our business. So it's like, I think that. But let's start with a little bit of emotion. What's the most amazing thing that's happened to you as a direct result of being prolific on social media?
I suppose the first indication that social media and blogging for me was working was when I got contacted by a digital conference organizer in Italy, and they invited me to speak in Italy, to pay me to go there and to pay me to speak, just because I was creating content and distributing on social media. So when I got that, I said, this is working. When I started the blog, I liked the idea of what I call inbound marketing or content marketing, basically attracting people to you rather than pushing a message out like buy from me. So that was the first indication, and I said, wow, someone actually is going to fly me around the world to actually speak at a conference and pay me for it. And when that happened, I went, something's happening.
We're onto something here. Can we explore the inbound? I call it push versus pull because I think it's really important. I think it's critical to just marketing. Like it's marketing 101 in my book.
It is now. Yeah.
Isn't it? And isn't it interesting that a lot of the big brands still don't get it? And this is why we're so lucky to be small businesses, because the idea of pulling people towards us with compelling messages is just, it seems to come easier to us. Can you kind of explain what you mean by that?
So what you're doing is no one cares about you or your brand. What they do care about is what your brand will do for them. So this is where creating content that adds value to people's lives, not basically buy from me messaging, such as here's my product, here's the features and benefits, you've got to buy it, it's such a cool product or a service. That paradigm is worn out. It doesn't work anymore on a social web. So essentially, it's working out. You can educate, inform, inspire, entertain your audience so they actually, one, will discover you, then will engage with you, and then through deeper engagement actually will buy from you. So this is what we call attraction or inbound marketing, also called content marketing.
Yeah, it is. Well, I call it helpful content marketing because I think there's content and there's no shortage of content. There's the kind of what kind of content. I love helpful content, which is like a lot of your posts are helpful, like they're always giving you insights into how-tos or, how to do something better on social media or a secret to something. And these are just helpful, so therefore you're going to engage people.
Yes. So you got to think, what's their problems? How can I solve them? How can I take them by the hand and show them a solution? Provide them with a framework, a template. So the how-tos are very, very important.
I've always defined social media as being, it's just people having conversations online. It's kind of allowed to me, that takes the pressure off what could be. I'm sure there's more technical definitions out there. And I do think a mindset is a good thing to have when you go into any kind of marketing strategy. How do you define social media?
Social media, to me, is the intersection of humanity and technology.
Oh, it's beautiful.
And that's what excited me from day one, was this intersection of humanity and technology is an extension of us as human beings enabled by technology. Mm-hmm. And that enables you to reach a global audience. So we no longer need to think local or even national, we can think global. And when you put that in perspective, you're going, wow, I can now talk to the world, not just to Melbourne or Sydney.
So the plumber in Melbourne sitting there listening to what you just said, why should he care about talking to anyone outside of his direct local radius?
Well, he needs to be local. So he may want to use social media to actually target local opportunities. And yes, so it's going to be different for everyone. For me, it's global because I sell a service that can be delivered globally, whereas a plumber has a product and a service that is delivered locally. So you just have to use social media in different ways to actually, make it work for you.
Yeah, okay. So it certainly doesn't. For me, it's like that plumber that can use a social media channel to engage with people locally, or he may well, and this is a stretch, but it's absolutely possible, he may well create a digital product that he could sell at a global level. I interviewed a guy a couple of years ago. It's kind of like the handyman's handyman, and he used to be on the tools. Now he's created an online training course that trains other handyman's, other handy people to build a successful business. So I guess that's an example of going global.
Yes, and the other thing you've got to think about is we've got to think that you now live in a digital world. So how can I extend what I offer from a physical product to a digital product? Because that enables you to scale. Because the problem with delivering something just locally, which is a physical product, is that it's very hard to scale, very expensive to scale. So for me, the question you should be asking is, how can I scale my skill and expertise? And that example you've used is a perfect way of actually tapping into his expertise. Is mostly giving away free content, but the back end of it, the final engagement piece, is actually converting them into customers that buy his expertise, but packaged up.
And isn't that exciting? I mean, it's why I started the Small Business Big Marketing Forum, because as a result of this podcast, I started getting approaches from people around the world saying, how can we get more of you? And at a point in time, years ago, I was like, well, sort of can't. I'm kind of this local marketing consultant, but who's happy to travel interstate. But it's kind of good. You got to, for the vet listening and the plumber, the masseuse listening, to say, oh, really? So I could extend my services overseas? Yeah, you could. It's about creating potentially digital products. One of the other things I hear about social media is that it's just, and I've said this myself, it's just another channel to market, which it's just kind of, again, relieving the pressure of, it's the all-important channel to market. Yep. Do you reckon it's just another channel to market, or do you think it's like it's a non-negotiable, every small business must be on it channel to market?
It's another channel to market. My strategy to anyone is actually multi-channel marketing. So, and social media is seen as sometimes as the holy grail of marketing, and it's the be-all and end-all for you to market. But I don't agree with that position. In other words, a lot of people even took the position that Facebook was social media, and I disagreed with that. So I participate on a variety of levels in marketing: network marketing, email marketing, search engine marketing, Facebook marketing, Twitter marketing. So for me, everyone prefers their content in different media. So some people prefer to watch a YouTube video. So the 20-somethings would rather watch a YouTube video than read a block of text. Whereas your 50-year-old maybe would rather read a blog post and watch a YouTube video, or they'd rather get it delivered via email. So you've got to understand that content resonates with everyone in a different way, and also people have preferences in social networks they use. So some people love Facebook, some people love Twitter, some people like LinkedIn. B2B's got a different model to B2C. So
what's that?
Business to business or business to consumer. So if you're a plumber, you're selling to a consumer. If you are selling a product that is distributed by another client, that's business to business.
And how's the model differ? You mean the approach to social media model?
Yes.
How?
Well, that's a long question. How long we got?
How long we got?
Yeah. And it depends on your market niche. So it's many moving parts.
At the end of the day, your B2B, B2C thing, though, again, it's just people. Like, first and foremost, it's still people having conversations, isn't it? So Does it have to be so significantly different, the way you approach a B2C marketing strategy on social media versus business to business?
Oh, yeah, it'll vary a lot. I think if Facebook is more suited to a business to consumer model. LinkedIn, I think, is more suitable with a business-to-business model. I'm working with a mining supplier that does business all through Asia. It needs to contact very niche, I suppose, management in different companies in mining around the world. So LinkedIn, he doesn't need a lot of business. He only needs some business, as in one contract for him might be worth $1 million. So it depends on whether you're trying to read a mass market or a niche market. That's going to vary your strategy.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk. I told we'd go around the place here. I'm going to take a step back. The major platforms, we've got Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google+, Pinterest, Instagram, and Snapchat. Is that kind of like, are they the big hitters in social media?
No, that's a pretty good spectrum. Yeah, okay. Absolutely. Yep.
You're a blogger. Is blogging social media?
It's like your own personal social media channel because you get comments and feedback.
Gotcha.
But I would treat a blog more, not so much. The way I view my blog is actually my digital platform that I own.
Yes.
I have control over it. So it's what I call the hub and spoke model. So my hub and my home in this digital world is my blog or website. And there is where I publish my content and own it. So it's my owned environment. Your social media is their extension of that, where you actually deliver that content to those social networks. So, for example, when I publish a blog post, I will then post it to Facebook. I will then publish it to the microblog Twitter. Then I will also put it on LinkedIn. So basically, I will then distribute it in a multi-channel strategy and tactics out to my social networks.
And they're the spokes.
And they're the spokes, exactly.
And this is really, really important, listeners. Jeff, you've hit on a really big point here, because you own the real estate that you own, you have complete control of. It's not going to disappear, all things being, equal, is your website. And that's where you should be creating and nurturing your content, not primarily on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn. That's where you promote your content. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's based on a very unlikely event happening, but it could happen, is that Facebook disappears or LinkedIn disappears or changes the rules, which you have no control over.
Yeah, Facebook changes the rules all the time, and just 12 to 18 months ago, Facebook changed its algorithm, so essentially its organic reach diminished enormously. So the ability for a brand to reach its audience on Facebook organically, even if it had 1 million likes, was diminished from about 20 or 30% down to, I think it's below 1% now. You still can reach your audience organically, but you have to be very clever and savvy in how you actually create content and use Facebook to actually do that. So Facebook's become what I call pay to play. That's where you got to understand how Facebook now operates, because it changed its algorithm. Twitter is still much more organic. You can actually reach an audience, and it's easier for it to, go more viral and earn more attention on and also Instagram is still that way. But be careful in Instagram, for example, because Instagram is owned by Facebook, and it will be, I'm sure, heavily monetized, so that if you want to reach your audience on Instagram, you will have to go the same route that Facebook. That's my prediction over the next 12 months to 2 years.
Okay, so what's Jeff Bullas' secret sauce for, dare I use the word, gaming Facebook? If it's pay to play, there's still ways of getting organic reach and leverage. What's the secret?
The secret is actually to create very highly engaging visual content, work on the headlines, and also make sure that your website is optimized for sharing as well. Make it easy for your audience to share your content onto their Facebook. So if you want to see how some of the best and fastest growing websites and media publishers in the world are doing, you need to go and have a look at sites like Upworthy and BuzzFeed.
Yeah.
They've almost cracked the code, I would call it, on how to make content go viral, and very much that exists on platforms like Facebook.
What is that code? Because they're like sugar. Those websites are like sugar. You just once you're there, you just get this buzz of they've got headlines, they've got the images, the holding frames. They're short, they're sharp, they're to the point, they're cheeky. These are all the kind of this is the code. This is the code they've cracked.
Yes, they've never. It's not perfected because you're still dealing with human emotions, and that's what makes content go viral. But what they've done is they've got a whole range of tactics that work, and they do things like they write headlines with what they call the curiosity gap, and you might have seen some of them on the likes of Upworthy who do that very, very well.
You're not going to believe what happened next.
Check this out. Okay, yeah. So, and typically they're not that short headlines. They're up to 20 words long, which actually breaks the old model that has been used by newspapers. BuzzFeed use what we call large listicle posts. So they actually say 30 ways to kiss a koala. So that sort of headline works well for them. And also at the back end, they've got some very clever technology that makes it very, very easily to share. They also don't neglect email subscriptions, so they're always collecting emails. So I understand that the social web also is driven very much by email messaging as well. So
how?
Because basically you have a list. This comes down to owned and earned, not basically having all your eggs in the Facebook marketing basket. Is that if you build an email list, you actually own that list as much as you can own an email list, but you actually have built it up. People are subscribing or connecting to you. If they actually ask to connect via email, they really do want to be connected by you. So building an email list is very, very important, and I would be doing that as part of my strategy, Marketing 101 from day one, is to build an email list, and do that by giving away something for free, whether it's an insight in a video they only get when they put their email in, or download a free ebook.
Jeff, that discussion, it doesn't give the small business owner a lot of hope, and I'm aiming to do that with this discussion with you today. But when you talk about BuzzFeed, when you talk about Upworthy, when you talk about the work they put into those headlines, to curating those images, to creating just, crazy, compelling stories, I call that amazing marketing, and there's absolutely a role for it. And if you can nail it, fantastic. But back to the plumber, back to the masseuse, who's just trying to get some engagement on social media, to be something like a Buzzworthy's just, it ain't going to happen overnight. Is it like, bad luck and roll the sleeves up, or what can they do?
Someone like a plumber might need to basically pay to promote their Facebook post, for example, or to reach a niche audience that's in their actual local area. So Facebook is moving to pretty well normal media or social media to more and more normal media or mature media model in that you actually have to pay to advertise. So it doesn't mean that you just spend money on Facebook, but social media is maturing, is basically forcing that on, I suppose, the small guy. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean that. It just depends on how big you want to grow your brand. And how big a dream do you have? If you just want to be local and get some more work, great. So maybe you just keep doing what you're doing. Mm-hmm. But if you have some larger visions of what you want to do with your brand, then I think you've got to move beyond thinking local.
How does a small business owner choose which social media channel to immerse themselves in, or should they spread themselves across all the ones I mentioned earlier?
They may want to test and see which one works for them. Some small businesses have a product that's much more visual, like a restaurant or a consultant that deals in the food industry or something. So it depends on what your niche is. If it's can be highly visual, then you will be playing with platforms like Pinterest, maybe, especially if it's a bit more female-centric, fashion, and so on. If you're dealing as a small business and it's visual, you might want to use Instagram. Instagram actually is larger than Twitter now in terms of its monthly user base. So you just got to keep that in mind.
Is this whole visual thing keeps popping up? I think I know what the answer is. I hear a lot of businesses sort of say, like if you talk to an accountant, it's such a boring thing. I don't know how to make it interesting. Well, I disagree with that. I think you can make anything interesting. Can you make anything visual?
Why not? There was someone says, well, I'm a boring product. I really can't do nothing much with it. I remember there's a guy about 5-6 years ago who he built pools. And pools aren't that exciting a product. It's people, they love kids swimming in them and so on. So he actually listened to his audience and created a whole, range of blog posts based upon all the challenges and problems that everyone had when they went to buy a pool. So how do I choose a pump? Do I go fiberglass? Do I do concrete? Do I do pebblecrete? Mm-hmm. And out of that, he actually created a free ebook and then published regular blog posts. And even during the GFC crisis in 2008, 2009, 2010, he actually boomed because he was solving people's problems as a pool builder. Mm-hmm. In fact, he did so well, he actually went on the speaking circuit and basically helped small business to actually market themselves.
How interesting. So this plays into the whole idea of, yes, anything can be interesting, and one way to do that is simply to go out to your audience, to your prospects, to your clients, and ask what questions have they got that they'd love answered in order to make an informed purchase decision about the product that you sell or the
That's
service
right.
that you offer.
That's right.
And I think then the magic is in you writing that content and making it interesting,
That's right. Yep.
Yep. I love that. Love it. What's your favourite social media, Jeff?
Twitter's been my secret sauce, I suppose.
Has it?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I just love the immediate nature of it, and also like the fact that it drove a lot of traffic back to my site, and it was very easy to actually build a following on Twitter, following some tactics that I trialed, did trial and error on early on. So, and it continued to work well. So I've continued to focus on Twitter, and that strategy's actually played out very well because Twitter is still very, very organic and actually build attention. They haven't wound back the algorithm, so your followers don't see your tweets just like Facebook's done. So I have worked over the last 5-6 years on building my Twitter following. So Twitter for me has been a great channel to create brand awareness. So I don't sell a lot of stuff off Twitter, but I've created a lot of global brand awareness just by. And I actually automated it. And I broke a lot of rules according to the social media purists about 5 years ago when I automated my Twitter feed. So I tweet every 15 minutes.
I noticed that. I'm looking at it now. A lazy 299,000 followers, soon to be 300, and you have had a tweet. Yeah, you're right. Every 15 minutes.
Yes.
Explain that, because that just to me, and like certainly not against it, but it just feels unsocial. If you were standing here in front of me every 15 minutes piping up with something to say, it would be a bit weird. I'm looking at your tweets and they are all incredibly helpful. How to streamline your workflow, how to market your content on Google+, 7 predictions for mobile marketing, like helpful, but there's no, I'm just scrolling. I'm not seeing any conversation. I'm not seeing any two-way street. Tell me how you are building such a big audience and nailing Twitter by doing what you're doing.
Yeah, you mentioned that it doesn't feel that social. Well, what you got to understand is that social is just a distribution channel. You can engage how you like on it. It's totally up to you. So I was given a hard time when I did this, and I continued because I found that it worked because I was delivering great content. And yes, I leap into the stream now and then. Someone actually asks the questions, I'll answer it. Someone asked me to do an audit for their blog for free. I would sort of ignore that because, and essentially, you've got to think about it this way. I actually have a stadium of people I'm talking to, and the only way I can engage you is maybe a private conversation over a coffee if I deem that's worth having. Mm-hmm. So the reality is that I automated Twitter early on, but it doesn't mean I don't engage. It just means I need to selectively engage.
Okay, so you all these tweets that are going out, one every 15 minutes, I'm assuming someone somewhere in the world is responding to each of these tweets, if not multiple people.
That's right.
You've decided not to respond to each and every one of them.
No.
You're selectively. So do you find that do people get pissed off? Do people drop off? I mean, how does that work?
Okay, so people get really upset because they go, someone unfollowed me. Well, I really don't care. Mm-hmm. If they don't like my content, unfollow me. That's fine. Mm-hmm. I'm offering you some great value every 15 minutes because I treat Twitter as a stream, not as an inbox. So I keep tossing content into that stream every 15 minutes. And yes, some people unfollow me because they find that I overwhelm their Twitter stream because they only have 10 followers. So yes, I will overwhelm your stream. But that's totally up to them. For me, I believe I'm adding a lot of value. I tweet other people's content as well from people I trust, such as Chris Brogan, Jay Bauer, Mark Schaefer,
Tim
other
Reid.
guys. Yeah,
Tim Reid.
Of course. Tim Reid. Yeah. So for me, you can unfollow me. I'll miss you maybe. So for me, it's actually about putting that content into the stream. And I can engage in a variety of ways, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's via email, whether it's a comment in my blog post. So for me, it's a way of reaching an audience globally. And there's some research shows that actually tweeting every 15 minutes actually has higher engagement than tweeting every 30 minutes, up to 30% more. So, and I think that's the nature of the Twitter feed, is that it's that stream. It's almost like a stream of consciousness that people, and so people can leap into my stream and actually so every hour, there might be 4 tweets. I'm hoping that they might like one of them. So, and I've been testing a lot of visual content. There you go, visual content again, on Twitter by actually tweeting quite regularly with visual, not just with a headline and a link and a hashtag.
So I'm guessing, therefore, so I'm looking at one of your tweets. In fact, it's called The 10 Commandments of Twitter, and you link off to, I'm assuming it's a blog post. Is that tweet, I'm sure you've scheduled that like multiple times? How many times?
I generally don't, except for my particular, if I publish, on the day of publishing, I might tweet the new content 5 or 6 times over the day. But I don't usually repeat a tweet for 6 days because I've got that much content that I can just keep putting it into that. And also use a tactic called creating evergreen content. In other words, I create tips that don't age very quickly. So I'm not tweeting the news because tomorrow's news is old news. Or yesterday's news is old news, sorry. So evergreen content means that a year later, if you got that tweet, it will still make sense and still is relevant and resonates.
I'm finding that with my podcast where, a few months ago I was sitting there thinking there's just so much marketing gold in the archive of smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. I'm going there, like I go to my website every hour for something. So when I do go into an old episode, I make a point of again, reposting it on Facebook and sending it out to Twitter and LinkedIn because otherwise it just gets buried.
Yes, and that's what you've got to do is you've got to otherwise you get forgotten because the web is such a crowded space that you actually do need to be relentless and persistent in your content creation and promotion. With 1 billion websites on the planet and growing, I think 3 billion mobile users that are posting everywhere and anywhere and anytime. You're competing with all this noise. So you've really got to be optimizing your content so that it's both frequent, well-written, well-structured, optimized for search engines, so you start to rank in search for key phrases in your industry. So this is this multi-channel and persistence model that really needs to be considered if you really want to break through the clutter and noise online.
What's the breakdown between your social media posts across any of the channels, Jeff, where you go out just with a comment, not linking back to your hub, versus where you go out with a link back to a blog post? What's the split?
I would say to be 95% with content and 5% with, it was about 5 or 6 years ago, I saw a social media guy, and this is when Twitter was fairly young. He said, don't waste a tweet by not including a link. So, and the thing is, you're not trying to flog stuff. I'm not trying to sell stuff. Occasionally I do. Maybe 5% of the time I've got a tweet that says, here's my blogging the smart way book. Check it out, come and buy it. Or promoting someone else's digital product. So essentially 95% of my tweets are actually just giving away free content.
With the, not hidden agenda, but your agenda is still to get people back to your website for them to either book you to speak or buy your book or to purchase a digital product. I mean, you're still trying to sell.
Exactly. So, but what you're doing is you're doing it through attraction rather than just pushing all the time.
Yeah, gotcha. What do you use to schedule your social media, using Hootsuite or...?
Hootsuite's fine. The trouble is that once you load it, you actually need to go and reload it. So that takes a lot of time because you've got to go in all the time and load. I use a product, and there's some other ones around, but I've been using socialoomph.com, the professional edition, which is actually costing me $25 a month. And it does recurring tweets, which is just fantastic. In other words, I load up 500 tweets and over time, I remove ones that are either dated or not relevant enough anymore, and I load the new ones in, and it does a recurring tweet every 15 minutes.
So if I put a tweet in and say, hey, listen, just send that out once a day for the next week, I only need to load it once, is what you're saying, yeah?
Yep, and it keeps running.
Whereas Hootsuite, I'd have to load that 7 times.
Exactly.
Oh, that's dumb. That's good. Social oomph. How do you spell oomph? Double O?
OOMPH.
Great. Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Oh, wow, Jeff. I knew this conversation would go everywhere. We're nearly out of time. Not that there's really a time limit on a podcast, but you kind of got to keep it, you got to keep things moving. What if people say bad things about you on social media? I hear this all the time. And you know what? The bigger the business, the more common the question. Oh, they're going to comment. They're going to say something bad. What if they do?
Okay, there's 2 types of bad comments. The first one is a genuine one that something's not working for them, your product or service. Well, yes, respond to them. So that's what I call a genuine bad comment that requires feedback and engagement. Then you've got another type of bad comment, which is a troll seeking attention. Now, a troll seeking attention, I normally go and check out them, and typically they'll have 5 Twitter followers, right? So what they're doing is they're trying to game you to get attention.
Right.
And for me, I just don't give them any oxygen.
So great. So put aside the troll The first one, a genuine problem, what a great outcome in the sense that, well, it's not great to have a problem in your business, but isn't it wonderful that social media is there for someone to air their grievances as opposed to being out in the street and talking behind your back and finding out about it maybe through a third party?
That's right, because people are saying bad things about you, just don't know about them, whereas social media, you actually hear about them, which gives you actually, and then you've got the means and the platform to actually reach out to them and actually respond to it and solve a problem. So see it as an opportunity, not as a problem.
Love it. A couple of last questions just from listeners who knew I was going to be talking to you, Jeff. What are some of the qualities I would look for in a social media assistant?
You need attention to detail is one. They need to be social media savvy. In other words, they need to understand it. So a lot of those people are going to be in their 20s and 30s. So, they need to understand how this works. They need to know, a whole range of things. I wrote a blog post about 10 qualities a social media manager needs to have on their resume. And I wrote it about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And it's a credible skill set they need to have, some of the best in the world. So it's a lot of skills.
I remember interviewing Melissa Maker, who has a cleaning business in Toronto and is a YouTube star. She's kind of like the Martha Gardner of Canada, and she was on the hunt when I was talking to her for a social media assistant, and she framed it as being a human Swiss Army pocket knife.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to be able to juggle 10 balls in the air any one time and make sure they all land safely.
Because it's this weird kind of mix of you need the technical skills of managing each of the platforms, but you've got to potentially also have the communication skills to craft a tweet or a Facebook post or an Instagram photo. Although you may well say, well, no, that should rely on the business owner to do that. The social media manager may be just the person who's driving the machine, if you like.
Yeah. One term I've heard described is basically what do you call it? A ninja geek.
Yeah. Which always worries me because it's like, when I talk to a business owner and they go, the website's under control. I've handed it to our IT guy.
Yeah, that's a very scary place to be.
Yeah, and hello to all you IT guys listening. Tell me, 5 years hence, Jeff, what does social media look like? What's coming? What's around the corner?
Social media is going to be very, very mobile. It's also going to continue to be visual. It also will move more and mature to be where to reach your audience you'll need to pay. So I think there's still an opportunity to build organic earned attention to social media without having to pay a lot for it, but expect to be paying to reach your audience on almost every channel, I would say, within the next 5 years. Twitter is going to be harder for it to wind back its algorithm because it's still seen as a news-breaking social network. Very hard to impose an algorithm because that'll stop the news breaking through.
And so what you mean by that? By that you mean Twitter cannot be selective?
It can be. It's sort of working on algorithms. That is what they use or they're testing, which is relevance. So how they actually develop an algorithm to make sure that a tweet from the wing of a plane that landed in the river when that plane crash landed off New York, how they're going to make sure that tweet gets through from the wing of the plane as he takes a photo and tweets it. So Twitter's very much what I suppose mixing itself into main media and TV. In fact, a lot of its hires have been in from agencies and so on, and from TV executives that understand how that media works. Mm-hmm. So, but I certainly think that there will be an evolution into the pay-to-play model, just like we're seeing evolving with Facebook.
Last question, Jeff. It's all about me. What should I do to take this show, which is popular, downloaded in 110 countries, to the next level using social media? So I don't mean the content of the show. How can I use social media to really, add, to double my audience? There we go. Okay.
I would be using Facebook to capture email and build an email list. I would be using it maybe and do that with by promoting and paying for it. Number two, I'd be building my Twitter following, continue to build that with certain tactics. And I'd also be experimenting with visual content to actually drive further engagement and build brand awareness so you get discovered. There's my 3 tips.
Right there. And they rolled off the tongue so easily. Hey?
Yeah, that's what you get from 5 years of obsessive use of social media.
Are you over it yet?
I'm not over it, but I need to keep. What I do is I keep pushing what I'm learning so relevant. So
you'd have to.
Yeah. So for me, the content is what I love. It's the actual creation of content, and that's the other thing I love about social is that as you express yourself and create content online, you grow as a person. And I think the art of creation is where you grow as a person. And for me, social media facilitates what I call the art of creating. And I think social media has actually enabled many more people to create, publish and promote. And for me, that is a very good thing.
You're the everywhere man online, Jeff, so I'll be interested in your answer to this. How should people connect with you?
They can connect with me in a variety of ways. On my blog, I've got a contact me form, which is at jeffbullas.com. They can connect with me on Twitter if they want to see my stream of automated consciousness at Jeff Bullas. They can connect with me on Facebook. But if you just Google me, you're going to find me. Or you can even email me if you like, jeff@jeffbullas.com, because email still works, by the way.
Goodness me. There's the headline for the show. Hey, Jeff, thanks so much for sharing your insights into what is a challenging area for small business marketing, and I know my listeners will have really appreciated it. Thank you, mate.
Okay, it's been a pleasure, Tim.
Well. Were there enough ideas in there for you? Goodness me. I should have reminded you to have a pen and paper ready at the start of that fireside chat with Jeff. Gee, we covered some ground, and I feel a little bit better about that whole social media thing, and I hope you do too. Now, I want to share my top 5 learnings thanks to 99 Designs and Net Registry, having had that chat with Jeff. Number 1, I loved his intersection of humanity and technology, which was his definition of social media. Give that a bit more thought. But it's all about technology, that social media thing, but you add in a very healthy dose of humanity. And as I said, you've got people having conversations online. Number 2, Jeff's hub and spoke model. The hub being your website, the spoke being the social media channels you use. You own your website. That's where all your good content should live. Your social media is a channel to market. Number 3, build an email list. You know, we got to build that list, that database, so you can communicate directly to your tribe. Learning number 4, thanks to 99 Designs and Net Registry, tweeting every 15 minutes. Who would have thought? Hey? That surprised me. Go and have a look at Jeff's Twitter feed and see how that looks and how he uses it. At Jeff Bullas is where you'll find him. And as I said, tell him you heard him on the show. Number 5, create evergreen content. I love this one. It's a concept you need to understand. Creating content that is evergreen. It doesn't date and can be used forever and a day. They're my learnings. I would love to know what you got from that chat with Jeff. Do you enjoy it? Did you want more? You know, were there areas we covered that you knew about? Were there challenging things? Head over to the show notes for episode 229 at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com, or even better, get inside the Small Business Big Marketing Forum and we can have an even deeper conversation in there. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did bringing it to you. Righto, motivational marketing quote of the week. This one, I think I mentioned the book that I'm loving reading by Brendan Bouchard. It's called The Motivation Manifesto. My mate Benny put me onto it. I really am loving it. It's just a treasure trove of quotes. This won't be the last one I share with you from it. This one will get you up and about. Brendan says, quote, "By deeply contemplating higher aims, we energize ourselves to pursue them." End quote. By deeply contemplating higher aims, we energize ourselves to pursue them. I like that. Shoot for the stars and you might just land on the moon. Righto, we're nearly there. If you enjoyed this episode, then you are going to love the marketing gold I have in store for you. Next week, I'm joined by Jeffrey Hazlett, a judge on America's Celebrity Apprentice, none less, sitting alongside Donald Trump and Gene Simmons. Got to love that. To never miss a second, simply subscribe on iTunes or your favourite podcast app, and be sure, please hit me up on Twitter for a chat. I'm at Timbo Reid, R-E-I-D. To book me to speak at a conference, head over to timreid.com.au, and if you want to pay it forward, then go ahead and tell someone just like you about this show. They will love you forever. And be sure to use 99designs.com/SBBM for all your design needs and Net Registry to get your online marketing sorted. A very big thank you to all those who review this show on iTunes or comment in the show notes. I read and respond to every single one of them. And, of course, a very special thanks to forum members. You guys absolutely rock. Until next week, I'm Timbo Reid. You're a motivated small business owner. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.
You've been listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show with Tim Reid. Want more marketing goodness? Then visit smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.